The hearing was scheduled to start at 9:30. There is nothing out of the ordinary except that General Khumalo is not feeling well. And of course, Justice Madlanga took the decision to adjourn for the day instead.
Okay. Jeremy, take us through the in-camera.
Lastly, the International Red Cross says it has had to suspend its work in Gaza City because of intensified Israeli military operations. According to local hospitals, at least 41 people have been killed today across the territory. The BBC's Yolanda now.
Most of the Palestinians killed were in Gaza City, where residents say there was heavy bombing. The Israeli military has issued new orders for people in Gaza City to leave for the south of the territory along the coastal road, and says it will no longer allow those in the south to return northwards. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz stated that those who remained in Gaza City would be terrorists and supporters of terror. Many Palestinians have refused to leave, including those who are elderly, sick or injured.
Recapping on your top stories, demand for Madagascar President Andry Rajoelina is escalating as hundreds of protesters across the country continue to demonstrate. The protesters took to the streets today for a fifth day of demonstrations that have shaken the government. Channel Africa News, I am Oneli Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news this hour, Walmart, USA's largest retailer, plans to announce a partnership with Spanish soccer league La Liga, while former Grand Slam champion Andy Roddick gives insight on just how money works in tennis. I'll tell you more at 4:30.
Africa means business. Tune into Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni for the future of the African economy. Channel Africa, the African Perspective. The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Our fitness coach, her name is Yvonne Dimakazo Pasha. How to remain consistent with gyms, Dima, and I'm going to put you on the spot right now. As we are talking, I will send you my picture and I want you to tell me what you think I should work on. Because, you know, when I look at myself, Dima, I think I'm very handsome. I'm so good looking, like, oh my goodness. Like here at Channel Africa where I work, I think I'm one of the most good-looking people ever. Like sometimes when I look at myself in the mirror, I never get used to how good I look. I'm just amazing.
You're okay with the way you're looking? You wish people could and now you want to put me on the spot.
Do I need gym?
Yeah. I mean, if you can just consider eating healthy, cutting down a few foodstuffs such as junk.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Qu'est-ce qui vous a amené à dire ça? Est-ce que vous avez observé un certain nombre d'événements dans la vie? Est-ce que c'était par rapport à une expérience? Est-ce que vous avez rencontré des choses qui vous ont dit il faut de la patience, comme ça les choses vont venir au bon moment et le bon Dieu pourra peut-être me visiter?
Oui, c'était justement un conseil que le Seigneur m'a fait inspirer pour donner à son peuple, parce qu'il y a la plupart des gens, pendant que Dieu bénit les autres, ils pensent que Dieu les a oubliés, et pendant que Dieu ouvre pour les autres, ils pensent que peut-être Dieu n'a pas pu écouter leurs prières. Alors, ce n'est pas le cas. Alors, Dieu bénit tout un chacun de nous avec son temps. Donc, le temps de Dieu est toujours le meilleur dans la vie de tout un chacun de nous.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
Nkhanza zokhudza amuna ndi azimayi kapena kuti gender-based violence, GBV, zikuwononga mioyo komanso kuphwasula midzi. Zikuchitika m'manyumba, m'masukulu, malo ogwirira ntchito, ndipo kwambiri mwakachetechete. Koma sizikuyenera kupitirira. Mukazimva, yankhulani. Ngati mwakhuzidwa, funani chithandizo. Chifukwa kusachita chilichonse sikuthandiza. Mverani kuma wireless onse 14 a SABC kuchokera lachitatu pa 23 mwezi uno wa Julai kuti mumve zokambirana, malangizo, masewero, zionetsero za maphunziro ndi mafunso okhuza nkhanza za amuna ndi azimayi ndi akatswiri, anthu opulumuka ku nkhanzazi, kukhazikitsa lamulo komanso dziko lonse lokhuzidwa ndi nkhanzazi. zonsezi pa wairesi yomwe mumayikonda ya SABC. Imbirani pa nambala 0800 428 428 kuti munene za nkhanzazi kapena kupeza chithandizo. Nkhanza zokhuza amuna ndi azimayi zimatha ndi inu. Uthenga ukufikani kuchokera ku SABC.
AUSISA, the Association of Water and Sanitation Institution of South Africa, is a platform uniting Africa's water professionals. This November, Africa leads the conversation on water and sanitation. Join global and African leaders at the AUSISA Africa and Global South Dialogue 2025 from the 9th till the 12th of November at the Emperor's Palace, Johannesburg. From policy innovation, this is where action meets collaboration for a water-secure future. Register today at ausisa-watersan-dialogue.org or follow at AUSISA on social media. AUSISA, working together for sustainable water and sanitation security in Africa. Stay ahead with Africa in Business, where Thami Ngubeni unpacks your go-to source for Africa's economic trends and development. Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa One. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa One. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa in Business. Africa in Business delivers key insights and real-time updates on Africa's growing markets with Thami Ngubeni. The African perspective on Channel Africa.
Channel Africa.
It is exactly 11 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. A very good afternoon to you, Africa. We start off this afternoon with a focus on developments around the oil industry in Nigeria. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has agreed to call off a strike. This is after a meeting with the management of Dangote Petroleum and government officials. This union had embarked on a strike at the Dangote refineries, demanding the reinstatement of over 800 workers who were allegedly fired by the refinery. More on this, we joined this afternoon by the business editor of The Guardian Nigeria, Jeff Iyatse. A very good afternoon to you, Jeff. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
It's my pleasure, Mando. Good afternoon.
So give us a bit of background regarding this particular scenario. Why were the 800 workers dismissed in the first place?
Well, thank you. It depends on who you believe, who you want to believe. According to Pegasa, the major oil and gas staff association, it was because the 800 people were joined the union. But from what we have from Dangote, it was part of the internal reorganization process. So Dangote says that they were not unduly penalized because they joined the union. And don't forget, before now, Dangote also said that they were free to join the union. And of course, you know that, of course, every capitalist, every employer will have reason to be concerned when the employee plan to join a notable union organization, a labor organization like Pegasa, because of the history of the organization. So this is the background to the labor conflict between Dangote and Pegasa.
Right. We do know, sir, that the Department of Labour did get involved in trying to officiate this particular impasse. Do we know the agreement that was reached by the federal government, Dangote, as well as the union to end the strike. And perhaps it's worth noting as well that the Department of Labour did say that it is the right of every worker to join a union should they wish.
Yes. That was what we heard from the Ministry of Labour. It was not only Ministry of Labour, interestingly, that was involved in the negotiation. The Ministry of Finance was involved. The Ministry of, other agencies, even some presidency, quite a number of other ministries were represented. It also shows it also underscores the importance of getting getting Pegasa or getting Dangote to listen or getting the two parties to come together, because yes, you could say, oh, this is just a conflict between one organization and its employee, and its employee, who were able to also bring their union organization into the issue. But it has huge consequence for the entire economy. It has huge consequence for the lives of millions of Nigeria. As I speak with you, I'm not sure you can. In Lagos, where I live, it's difficult to get gas now, just because of the 2 days industrial action. So that shows how much that has affected, the crisis has affected the lives of an ordinary person.
So as far as these 800 workers are concerned, what is their fate now? Have they once again been reinstated into Dangote's company?
Well, we can only speculate what will happen. But if you understand how private sector run, how private organizations run, not only private organizations, even some public sector organizations, if you be able to drag your organization, your employer this far, you'll be able to face some level of embarrassment in quotes. I don't know how comfortable you're going to be working for the same organization. I just hope that they are able to be integrated fully back into the Dangote group. But what we know is that, yes, they are going to be reintegrated, but there's already a point that the company itself is not quite comfortable with them. Now they are going to be absorbed into the organization, but they are going to be reassigned to different companies within the Dangote group. So that for me is a minus for the employees.
All right.
It's a minus for the employees. So I'm hoping that with time, some of them might find it difficult to continue with the company, but we only hope for now that this crisis does not re-emerge very soon.
All right, we'll leave it at that for this afternoon. Jeff Iatse, thank you very much for that update coming to us from Nigeria. Thank you, sir. That is Jeff Iatse. He is the business editor of The Guardian in Nigeria. 800 workers who were allegedly fired by the Dangote refineries. Reports say that they will be reinstated back into the Dangote group of companies. And the issue about them joining the union, as the Department of Labour has stated, that it is the right of every single worker to join a union should they wish. But where this will go remains to be seen. We certainly will be keeping abreast of developments coming out of Nigeria. It's gone exactly 17 minutes after 4 p.m.
Africa in Business. Africa in Business delivers key insights, real-time updates on Africa's growing markets with Thami Ngubeni. The African Perspective on Channel Africa.
Channel Africa.
Now, the United States federal government shut down on Tuesday. This is after the Senate failed to pass a last-minute funding bill, forcing hundreds of thousands of federal employees into furloughs and delaying pay for essential workers. This is quite a momentous occasion. It's actually the first time that the shutdown has happened in the country since the year 2019. The official website of the White House now features a clock showing the duration of the government shutdown.
We are going to be talking this afternoon to Professor of International Relations at the University of the Witwatersrand, Professor John Stremler, to find out the significance of this and exactly what it is that has led to the federal government shutdown. A very good afternoon to you, Prof. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Thank you, Thami.
So I did say in the introduction that the last time this happened was in the year 2019. What is it that has led to this shutdown this time around? And in essence, what does a shutdown mean?
Well, it's very difficult to figure it out. I've never seen the U.S. more polarized between the parties, and I go back to the dark days of the Nixon administration and the Vietnam conflict disaster that was unfolding and polarized the country. But this hatred between the two parties is really quite remarkable. And Chuck Schumer, the head of the Democrats, did go along with the one big beautiful bill that was passed narrowly back 3 months ago. But this time he's drawn the line, and he thinks he's on firmer ground. It's the issue is health care, and Obamacare is very popular, but it only covers in terms of need 10% of the population, but a lot of other people avail themselves of Obamacare. Nate Silver, the pollster, has argued that you should have taken tariffs to heart because tariffs affect everybody, but never the cost of living. But nevertheless, Schumer and Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, agreed that it would be a knockdown, drag out over health care.
So how will the shutdown impact services in the United States and indeed globally? What are the impacts that we're going to be seeing?
Well, Trump is Trump, and he delights in narrowing and furloughing the government. This infamous DOGE Act that a South African, Elon Musk, former South African, the world's richest man, engineered in the early weeks of the Trump administration, and it raised havoc all other through the government, and it closed down AID, which was very bad for Africa, and it was very disruptive. Trump delights in that because he feels that everybody is against him, and that he won narrowly in the closest election, which we observed in 2024. But nevertheless, he delights now in a close down, and I think that the Democrats are spoiling for a fight. So it could go on forever. The last one that you mentioned in 2019 went only 35 days, and that was a lot longer than the 7 days in 2018.
So what is it going to take to put an end to the shutdown?
I'm laughing because I don't know, and I just heard the tail end of your story on Nigeria, and we honeymooned in my wife and I in Lagos in 1960s, and so that was the Civil War, and I could have written that script for Nigeria. I mean, there's a little bit of a parallelism because the U.S. is a complicated country, and like South Africa. But it's terribly polarized now, and it was they fought a bitter civil war, and race is at the heart of it, and it's always been, and the liberals and the illiberals in this time around I think are fighting it out because they see the majority country demographically coming up in 2024 and 2044, and the Republicans are bent on state capture, and the Democrats in the Republicans the Democrats in the cities are opposed to that, and we'll see what happens. But I despair because Trump is a disaster.
And we'll leave it at that disastrous note. Professor John Stremlau, we thank you so much for your insight, and we'll continue watching and see how long this actually goes on for. Thank you, sir.
Yes, it will be going on.
Thank you. That's Professor John Stremlau. He is the Professor of International Relations at the University of the Witwatersrand. Professor John Stremlau. They're taking us to exactly 24 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. Now, what we know about this shutdown is that it will, at least temporarily, stop some U.S. government services. It also means that the salaries of hundreds of thousands of government employees will be put on hold as well. People who are on low-income food programs, potentially they might be affected. Some air travelers might be affected as well. And service members reporting for duty without getting paid. Those are just some of the reports and potential repercussions of this federal government shutdown. As we heard in 2019, that one lasted about 35 days. How long will this last, and what will it take in order for the shutdown to be lifted? We'll continue watching that developing story for you right here on Channel Africa.
Africa in Business. Africa in Business delivers key insights and real-time updates on Africa's growing markets with Thami Ngubeni. The African Perspective on Channel Africa.
Channel Africa.
We turn our sights now to South Africa, where the quarterly labour force survey for the second quarter of 2025, which was released by Statistics South Africa, shows that the country's formal sector experienced a significant contraction, shedding around 80,000 jobs and pushing total employment down by 0.8% from the previous quarter. Patiwe Ndleleni, activist and the founder of Maduna Nkabinde Foundation, says the unemployment crisis is not just a number on a graph, but it's actually a lived reality for millions of South Africans. She says the numbers are evidence of systemic problems that exacerbate the issues of unemployment as well as corruption, which is inherent in the system. She joins us now on the line. A very good afternoon to you. Great to have you with us on African Business. Welcome.
Greetings to you, Thami, and greetings to the listeners of Channel Africa.
So when we take a look at these high levels of unemployment, how concerning are they to you?
Well, Thami, they are very concerning to me. Maybe let me start by saying it's a very sensitive matter to me because we graduated in 2005, and I know for a fact that my roommate, who happens to be disabled, at the time we were 20-something in 2005. She has never got employment up until to date. She's not the only person. And remember now, she is 40-something years, close to 50, without being employed or working anywhere else. So it is really concerning because even when you look into the adverts in our country, it says from 18 to 35, right? So what about the people who graduated at the rightful time and finished their education rightfully so, but now are over 40 because they've never been employed? And I'm wondering if that is being looked into. So for me, it is very, it's a sensitive matter, which made me to start the Maduna Nkabinde Foundation in the first place.
You know, as you're speaking, the country has coined this phrase of the missing middle, specifically for, young people who are university students who are not poor enough, quote unquote, to be on NSFAS, but they're not wealthy enough for their parents to be able to afford paying for tertiary education. And when you speak about your friend and those who are disabled and those who perhaps haven't worked, even though they've graduated. It looks like there is another quote-unquote missing middle within the employment space, but really not one that has been focused on. Can you talk to us about this and perhaps what efforts are going to be made in order to make room for those who are qualified but have never had the opportunity of being employed and are now over 35?
Well, Thami, it's so unfortunate that this is the reality that we have to swallow. And I will make an example of the current situation that we have where a 22-year-old was hired to be the chief of staff. When we have unemployed graduates who are qualified, some are qualified and they can do a great job actually. But the reality about things is that it's whom you know. Because nepotism in South Africa is killing the country. I will make an example. I've worked in a political office somewhere, somehow, and we had an executive, a very young girl to us, where we were qualified with the chief of staff who didn't even have a standard 10. And we were made, I'll talk about me because I was made to be even looking into all the emails that were going out to the mayor's office and so on. The nepotism is making people who are not qualified to be employed in positions of power because they are well known. Yet we have people who are qualified, but because they are not associated maybe with politicians, then therefore they are not counted to be part and parcel of people who can be working. That is number one, the biggest problem, elephant that we have in the room. The second elephant that we have in the room is when it comes to the departments that are supposed to be watchdogs, looking into the employers, are they compliant? Even on this one, I have vast evidence of the Department of Labor going to these employers and they find out that they are not compliant, but to hold them accountable, it's something else. I'm talking about something that I've engaged the minister, me personally, to say, Minister, this is what is happening. What should be done here? And they come back to me to say, Pat, what we have told us, indeed, the employer is non-compliant in all levels, but what has to be done? We also have the CCMA. I remember in one of the articles, I wrote that the president, I wish the president of this country would go to the Department of Labor and look into the queue. Every day we have very long queues where people are being fired. It's not like in South Africa there are no jobs. There are jobs in South Africa, but somewhere, somehow, there's nepotism and there's departments that are supposed to be watchdogs that are not doing their jobs.
So let's
come to your...
So let's look at this really quickly as we wrap up this afternoon. What are the solutions? What is it that your foundation is advocating for, and what are you wanting the Department of Labor to do?
Well, Thami, the Department of Labor, number one, what we need is for them to listen, and we want them to be representing the employees by holding the employers accountable. If a person comes to you and lay a complaint, then you need to be reporting to that person that this is where we are, this is what is happening, because the department is failing dismally. The inspectors would go to these organizations and they're saying they're doing the inspections, and then it dies like that. That is what is happening. Then what needs to happen? We need to come up with a system that is going to employ people according to merits. We do not want people to be hired because they are part and parcel of this political party. They are known by Mr. So-and-so. No, it doesn't work like that. Failing which, I call upon South Africans who are unemployed to stand up together, because really South Africans are dying into poverty. Thami, out of my salary when I was working, I would buy groceries, visiting areas. I know what I'm talking about. All over South Africa, I've been conducting seminars. So the information that I'm giving you, it is from the poorest of the poor, from the ground.
Patiwe Ndleleni, we thank you so much for your time and just really shining a spotlight on some essential issues. We thank you for your time and your insight today, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Thami, for having me.
A pleasure. That's Patiwe Ndleleni. She's an activist and founder of the Maduna Nkabinde Foundation. She takes us to exactly 4:32 Central African time as we head over now to the markets desk, where Chanduko Ligege is standing by with your latest market indicators.
Business news on on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tommy. Good afternoon. $1 is trading at 17 Rand 26 in South Africa. In Botswana, 13 Pula 20. Namibia, 17 Namibian dollars 26. Zambia, 23 Kwacha 80. In Kenya, the dollar is 128 shilling 40. Ethiopia, 144 birr 62. Uganda, 3,000 shilling 469. Tanzania, 2,000 shilling 443. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 482. In Egypt, the dollar is 48 Egyptian pound 89. Tunisia, 2 dinar 89. Algeria, 128 dinar 65. In Morocco, the dollar will cost you 90 ram. In Angola, the dollar is trading at 912 kwanza. The Congolese franc is 2,680. Looking at commodities, gold is at $3,872, platinum at $1,569 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $65.20 a barrel. That is all from me. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chandruko Ligege.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And standing by for the business of sport, a very good afternoon to you, Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you so much, Thami. A very good afternoon from the Sports Desk. So Walmart is bringing its brand to the biggest match in football. So the USA's largest retailer plans to announce on Thursday a partnership with Spanish Soccer League La Liga as it looks to expand its football hold in soccer and capitalize on its growing fandom in the USA. So under this partnership, Walmart will become the first presenting partner of La Liga El Clasico, a rival matchup between its two powerhouses teams, that is of course FC Barcelona as well as Real Madrid. The partnership will include a new logo featuring Walmart as the presenting partner for the rivalry matchup, which will be used across the USA, Canada, as well as the debut this season. So the first El Clasico, which translates to the Classic in Spanish of the 2025-2026 season, is scheduled for the 26th of October in Madrid, with the second match currently scheduled for the 10th of May in Barcelona. That's of course next year rather. So Walmart as well as La Liga will also launch the partnership ahead of the first match of the full weekend of fans events in Houston starting on the 24th of October. The partnership will also include large-scale viewing parties, concerts, meet and greets with former stars, co-branded merchandise as well as retail promotions. On the continent now, Danone, the international food giant, has been named as the latest sponsor in the Africa Cup of Nations national teams tournament for both the men as well as the women's editions. Now, the French brand will serve as the second-tier official partner of the men's AFCON, as well as the third-tier official sponsor of the women's Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Danone will also work alongside the Confederation of African Football in its CAF African Schools Football Championship tournament. The governing body last month also agreed a renewal with Chinese technology company Techno Mobile to sponsor the 2025 as well as the 2027 AFCON tournaments. CAF also recently announced a new partnership with European Commission, the executive branch of the European Union political body, covering multiple AFCON tournaments. Other AFCON partners secured in recent months include the African Global Logistics as well as the official supplier in the third-tier sponsorship category, as well as the Royal Air Maroc. In tennis news now, while the best players in tennis are plying their trade in Asia at the moment, former Grand Slam champion Andy Roddick was put through his paces with an array of questions on the sport. He also gave his insight on just how money works in tennis when asked about how, as well as prize money, is paid. And this is what he had to say about that.
There's one part of this I know for absolute certainty without any, I'm sure people probably get it different ways. You do not get a check every day. You do not get, that would be a nightmare for the tournaments to have to pay out every single day and keep track of that. You get paid at the end of the tournament. Now, does it go to your agency? Does it go to direct deposit? You used to be able to get a check. There was like an actual bank. That probably doesn't work that way anymore. I doubt that's still an option, but you used to be able to get like a check.
All right, so tennis also known for many players as a life-changing money that they receive from this event. Players might also need to immediately cover travel for the next event. Roderick elaborates on that.
Basically, when you're not pro, it means you can't accept money. I'm sure this has changed with NIL, but I remember back in the day, you used to be able to keep receipts and you could get reimbursed, so that playing in the tournament shouldn't cost you money, even if you couldn't make money as an amateur. If you won like a match, you'd be going out to some great dinners. It's like you're 17, you win a match. It's like, oh, I can't take the money. But since I won that match, we won a match in doubles when I was 16 or 17. It was enough to go out to $7,000-8,000, which at that point it might as well have been $1 million, and just ripping receipts. It's like we can't take the money, we can't touch it, but we can get reimbursed. So we're going.
Right, so that concludes your sports news this afternoon on Channel Africa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, remember to send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Alternatively, call us on +27 11714 4459. More sporting updates tomorrow morning on Africa Rise and Shine. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibudi Makure.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
It is exactly 4:40 Central African Time. Now, in South Africa, delegates at the W20 Gauteng Outreach Dialogue are urging concrete measures to close the gender gap in financial inclusion, saying it's key to driving stronger economic growth and resilience across the continents. The gathering serves as a precursor to the W20 summit, which is set to take place later on this year. Organisers say that the dialogue is about turning commitments into action, ensuring women are not left behind in global policy making. Channel Africa's economics reporter Innocent Samosa has more on day 2 of the W20.
The dialogue held under the theme Mainstreaming Gender in G20 Policymaking, Advancing Economic Justice for Young Women also underscored that empowering young women can open new pathways for innovation and sustainable development. The University of Johannesburg Centre for the Study of Race is among the key partners in these engagements. Lebogang Ayo Bijola is UJ Community Engagement Specialist.
The reason we're having this dialogue today was to actually identify challenges and solutions that women are facing when it comes to economic and financial issues, and also how we can play a part in advocating and input into the upcoming G20 and Y20 summit that will be taking place. The most important thing that we identify today is that there's a need for financial inclusion when it comes to women. Also, in terms of socioeconomic issues, there are many things that we can come up with solutions to help them where we find them excluded. When you look at the policies in the financial industry, access to education, access to fourth industrial revolution tools, those are the things that young women are actually struggling with, but they can definitely be a change with the upcoming summits that are coming through.
She noted that many women continue to face cultural and structural barriers in financial decision making, and stressed that the G20 should adopt policies aimed at shaping solutions to overcome these challenges.
So the issue of peace and security is very significant for all of us from different culture, color and creed, and it's such an advantage that we are hosting the G20 as the first African country. So my message actually to the leaders is, let's take cognizance of the future generation. Our action should actually be able to sustain the future generation. The issue of peace for young women, for young children, for people from different cultures and communities is very important. The issue also of sustainable development. How are we playing a part as the older generation to educate the young people why peace is very important, and also look at the issue of climate change. You know, policies need to change to favor people that are participating in that specific sector. Many young women and children are actually working in the farms, but are the systems, financial system in those spaces favorable for them to be entrepreneurs?
For Thami Ngubeni, creative manager at Creative Development, this event has been a key takeaway experience.
Out of this event, I'm taking home how important it is as a Black woman that even though I'm coming from a place of respect when it comes to culture, but there's also a placement that needs to be had in the economy, especially as a young female. You know, it's important for us to realize that we aren't just representing our families, but we're also representing ourselves and the future that we want to have.
As the Y20 summit approaches later this month, the Gauteng Outreach Dialogue set the tone by calling for practical action on gender equality. For Channel Africa News, I'm Innocent Samos in Johannesburg.
Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
It is exactly 4:44 Central African Time. Invest Fest 2025, which is a gathering for investors as well as entrepreneurs, is currently underway in Johannesburg, South Africa, focusing on investment opportunities and economic growth. Hosted by Anglo American's Impact Finance Network, the IFN, the festival-style event celebrates entrepreneurship, innovation and inclusive growth across Southern Africa. Emma Parker, who is Sustainable Impact Finance Manager at Anglo American, is on the line this afternoon to discuss this further. Welcome to you, Emma. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Invest Fest 2025. Talk to us about the motive behind this event.
The Impact Finance Network works really hard to support economic diversification and jobs. And we work to support SMEs, helping them connect with investors. Now, a lot of that work we do directly with the businesses and the investors, but we really deeply believe in the network piece. So bringing people together so that they can forge strong relationships and strong connections. So every year we try and host an event that's slightly different. You know, it's about finding small spaces to be able to connect and being able to come together, to be able to collaborate and create impact. And InvestFest is the first time that we've gone so far as to create that festival vibe around investing and supporting SMEs and entrepreneurs, and it's been an absolutely fantastic experience.
And what are the type of opportunities that the event presents for those who are attending?
Well, we are literally right now closing with we're calling it our power pitch battles. So we've got 5 fantastic South African SMEs that are pitching to the attendees. We've got over 100 investors here. And pitching their businesses and the opportunity to invest in them. But throughout the rest of the day, we've had, we started with an opening fireside chat with Mpumi, the CEO of Kumba Iron Ore, who was talking about, you know, the role that Kumba is playing in supporting social impact and innovation in Northern Cape. And then the rest of the day has really been dedicated to smaller more intimate sessions focused on really specific subjects around how to mobilize capital, how to look at nature-based solutions in agriculture, how to support entrepreneurs and inclusivity. And so the way that the agenda has been structured has allowed people to pick the things that are important to them and participate in small groups and meaningful discussions so they can really take away meaningful things from the sessions that they join.
There's this interesting phase, impact investing. Could you talk us through that, if you can unpack that for us, and perhaps also how Anglo American's Impact Finance Network supports economic diversification, also to help create job opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So impact investing is I'm going to say, relatively new type of investing. It's probably been around for about 15 years. And it's investors that they don't want to just invest for financial return. They want to invest in order to be able to create a positive environmental or social return, as well as a financial return. And in South Africa, there's so many fantastic businesses that demonstrate these qualities. So it could be a renewable energy business, or it could be a health tech or an edutech. So businesses that are really supporting environmental or social challenges that we see in the South African market, and they've been able to find a commercial way to turn that to create those solutions and turn that into a business model. But often for a lot,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for a lot of those businesses, they really struggle once they reach a certain size to access the capital that they need to grow. And so what the IFN focuses on is being able to support those businesses with support before they raise investment, to get them investment ready, to help them get their financial model in place, their business plan, their data room, and then to match them with the right investors, these impact investors, so that they can raise capital and scale these environmental or social solutions that they've developed. And that's where it touches on that economic diversification piece. So these are businesses not in the mining value chain. They're not reliant on a mine in order to exist. These are not suppliers into Anglo-American. And so these jobs will persist beyond the life of mine. And that's what we want to create, is resilient, diversified economies. But our role as a mining company at Anglo-American is to support that and to enable these diversified economies to thrive.
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. I was quite interested in finding out the type of companies that are represented at the festival. And then also, just as a follow-up on that, if you are going to be, continuing with the work as Anglo-American and the Impact Finance Network beyond the fest.
That's a great question. So the businesses are hugely diverse. We've been working, like the IFN has been around. Anglo launched it back in 2021, so we're in our 5th year. In South Africa, we've worked with over 70 businesses. So right now, we've got businesses on stage. The first one is a company called Motherbud, who have created a containerized high-end mushroom cultivation business that can be developed anywhere across South Africa. So it's creating high value crops that people can access. They sell into Woolworths, and so you can support communities who have mixed skill bases to be able to actually get into these high value markets through this company. There's other companies that we're working with, one right now that's pitching Pumpkin. They provide the right sized finance to emerging agri-entrepreneurs and agri-SMEs. So a lot of agriculture businesses or agri-farmers really struggle to get the right type of finance for inputs in order to be able to grow and then, be able to sell product into market. And Pumpkin specializes in being able to provide the right type of finance. So the business models really vary.
It's diverse. It really is.
Incredibly diverse.
It really is.
And Anglo's commitment, we're completely committed to this model. It's for us, it's very innovative, and it's a different way for us to think about how we support non-mine dependent jobs and economic diversification.
Really important.
And so this work will continue for us beyond InvestFest, throughout next year and continue. We're working with our Kumba iron ore mine to support their strategy in Northern Cape, at least through to 2030. So
Emma Parker,
for us as a business, it's a good commitment.
It certainly is, and sounds like a long-term commitment too. We thank you so much for your time and all the best for the rest of the fest.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. That's Emma Parker there. She's Sustainable Impact Finance Manager at Anglo-American. A really interesting initiative there. Impact Finance Network, IFN, is who they are. It's exactly 4:52 Central African Time.
Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mokoenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
Now, with the US-China trade tensions, volatile global supply chains, as well as ongoing uncertainty in monetary policy, African economies are learning rather hard lessons about relying too heavily on external markets. The AfCFTA has been hailed as Africa's answer to these disruptions, but the reality is a whole lot more complex. Intra-African trade is growing, yet the foundations to support a fully integrated market are still very fragile. And we are going to be taking a look this afternoon at intra-African trade and also discussing how Africa can unlock the promise of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And this is obviously against the backdrop of a very shifting global economy. Joining us for this discussion this afternoon is Reggie Mlangeni, Head of Global Market Sales and Structuring at ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Good afternoon, Tom. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Good afternoon to your listeners.
So perhaps let's start off with an understanding of how Africa, can electrify and integrate its fragmented grids. And this is really so industries can operate without blackouts. We know power is at the backbone of business, of productivity.
Thank you, Thami. I think this specific topic for South Africans is quite a painful reminder of the extent to which the way our economies have been set up now is intimately dependent on our ability to electrify our electric grids, and by extension, therefore, relying on that power to drive industry and to create jobs. This is a constant theme across the continent, where we know that some of our neighboring countries experience extended periods of rolling blackouts in excess of 10 hours a day on a regular basis. And that clearly does not create the fertile seeds required for investment flows into the continent and for investment flows into capital-intensive industries that we know are needed to drive GDP growth and to drive employment growth. The integration of the power from scarce to abundant, from abundant to scarce countries is really the crux that will help us unlock the opportunities for growth.
So let's look at water as well and water security. How can that be treated as an economic priority in order to not only safeguard health, but also productivity and stability?
Water is the lifeblood of society, and for the longest time, it has not been given the same degree of attention that it deserves. Again, closer to home in South Africa, we saw the massive social unrest around the Midrand area last week or the week before, when there were extended days without water. So water is not a social service, and I think most economies and most political authorities have treated it as such, to the extent that planning resources can be diverted to the treatment of water with the same degree of seriousness and urgency as what we've seen, for example, through the Independent Power Producer Program in South Africa. It's going to become a cause of social unrest, and this is not limited to South Africa, especially when you, as you rightly mentioned, the likely disease outbreaks as a result of unclean water. So this should be seen as an economic opportunity and not just as a social cause.
It's so multifaceted, and it impacts every area of our lives, from humanitarianism to the economic and even the social side. But there's something that is quite a phenomenon: the fact that it could actually cost a whole lot more to ship within the continent itself than to ship from Asia. How is this going to be tackled? How can Africa reduce the cost of moving goods within the continent itself? Because one would imagine that is one of the backbones of making sure that the AfCFTA actually works and yields fruit?
Great question, Thami. And I think similar to the observation I just made around water supply, the cost of goods is really a function of competitiveness. And to the extent that the infrastructure connectivity throughout the continent remains fragmented, it will be cheaper for even faraway economies like Asia to ship goods more competitively to our continent than we can within the continent. And what exacerbates that dynamic even more is the extent to which there's no beneficiation. So a lot of our economic investment has been through extractive industries, which then exit the continent without a value-added component to the manufacturing or mining process, or even agri-processes. And part of why that is the interest has been to go to international markets as they were seen as more lucrative than trying to retain the flow of goods within the continent. As I said, when I was speaking about the power supply challenges, each country possesses a unique advantage that, if leveraged, could end up supporting another economy on the continent.
And Reggie, we're
And
going
to
to
the
have
extent that we're not
we're going to unfortunately have to leave it at that. But I think it's a good place to leave it today, looking at the strengths of each country, leveraging that for greater interconnectedness. Reggie Mlangeni, we thank you so much for your insight this afternoon. He is head of global market sales. Thank you, sir, and structuring at Absa Corporate and Investment Banking. So much to unpack in that. You know, how do we get stronger intra-Africa value chains, the issue of political stability as well, and making sure that it actually works. Well, that's how we're going to come to the end of it for today. This has been your Wednesday edition of Africa in Business. From myself, Thami Ngubeni, and the team, you have yourself a splendid evening further as we hand over now to Vue d'Afrique and the French desk.
Africa in Business. Africa in Business delivers key insights and real-time updates on Africa's growing markets.